The Alexander Saga, Chapter 3A, North Wales Holiday. On return from Iran, I worked briefly as an inspector on some small pipework jobs in Yorkshire until the company asked me to be the cathodic protection technician on an oil pipeline being constructed from Anglesey to Ellesmere Port across North Wales. I was to witness the installation of the test posts, take voltage readings and conduct coating surveys on sections of pipeline that had been completed. I was introduced to the oil company's representative engineer, Dennis Simmons, to whom I was to report. Although he had been given the responsibility for the cathodic protection, he admitted that he knew little about it, as it was only a small part of his overall responsibility. We had a long discussion and he admitted that he was not convinced by any of the information that he had been fed about cathodic protection technology. I told him my experience and confided my suspicions to him, setting up a very good working relationship for the whole of the contract. For the first period, there was little for me to do, as the main pipeline was still under construction, and my main activity was to be at locations where the pipeline crossed roads, railways, streams, etc. Cross-country pipelines in the UK are constructed after the right-of-way has been negotiated with all the relevant authorities and landowners. The contractor then sends a fencing crew with the survey team who mark and fence off the area which the contractor can use to construct the pipeline. The land is then cleared of vegetation and the topsoil pushed to one side using bulldozers. The length of pipe are then distributed along the right-of-way, sometimes referred to as the wayleave, in a haulage operation which is known as stringing. These lengths of pipe are approximately 40 foot in long and are already coated with insulation material such as bitumen or coal tar enamel. Pipeline in the ditch before backfill. Some later pipelines are coated with plastics and epoxy compounds, but whatever the coating, it is the first line of defence against corrosion. It is intended to be electrically insulated and chemically resistant, thus preventing the electrochemical reaction between the pipe and the backfill. Pipe lengths are heavy and required to be handled mechanically with special lifting gear and quality control inspectors on site to ensure that they are not damaged during construction. The pipeline is divided into mainline sections that fall between special sections at crossing points, such as roads, railways, rivers and canals. The whole project is under the supervision of a spread boss, and there are normally several special section foremen who have expertise in construction of difficult pipe configurations required at the crossing points. The main spread normally works from one end of the route to the other, while the special sections are constructed independently. They are joined to the main pipeline by a tie-in crew, and it is at that stage that the cathodic protection cables are normally attached to the pipeline. After stringing the pipe out, the lengths are welded together and the whole main line section is then supported on wooden skids above the ground. The butt welds are cleaned and coated, and the whole surface of the pipeline is then inspected with a holiday detector. A coating fault is known as a holiday, an expression coming from the days when painting inspectors used to accuse painters of taking a holiday if they missed a patch. Sarcastic sods. Mainline sections can be several miles long and at this stage are on the ground surface supported on skids. A rotary trenching machine excavates a ditch alongside the pipe and a team of side booms lift the pipeline and snake it into the ditch using a leapfrog procedure. The side booms ditching the pipeline. There are between 4 and 6 side booms to a ditching team, and each weighs over 35 tons. There are crawler vehicles which have an A-frame lifting arm attached to one side of their tracks. This is fitted with a winch, blocks and tackles, and the other side of the vehicle is fitted with massive hydraulically operated counterweights. The pipeline has a specified maximum bend arc, and the last machine in the team lifts the end of the pipeline and lowers it into the ditch, while others lift and flex the remainder of the pipe to ensure that it does not bend in excess with the specification. The last side boom then releases the pipe and moves past the team to become the first. It is an incredible piece of teamwork which requires very skillful plant operators and banksmen under the direction of the ditching boss, who is himself a skilled boom operator. It is extremely noisy and exciting work, which can be dangerous if not controlled properly. Pipeliners are proud of these skills, but occasionally there has been known to be a mistake resulting in the pipeline ditching itself together with 1 or 2 side booms and an assortment of equipment and operatives. This is not a good thing to happen, as it smashes the equipment, kills the operators and ruins the coating of the pipeline. It has been known for over a mile of 24-inch steel pipeline to ditch itself in about 2 minutes. It then had to be unditched, repaired, ditched properly, taking a sensible amount of time, like a day. The lifting slings and the skids can damage the coatings, and there is a coating repair crew attached to the ditching crew. A coiled spring is fastened around the pipe, and this is pushed along by a special tool which charges it to several thousand volts. A coating fault will allow current to jump to earth through the pipeline, and this causes an alarm to ring on the holiday detector. The ditching operation must then stop to allow the crew to repair the coating. By the way, the holiday detector has been known to awaken an operator from the most severe hangover when touched on his bum. Quality control inspection. A coating inspector should be present to ensure that all this is done properly, and a coating inspector can therefore hold up the whole progress of the pipeline. However, a coating inspector has human weaknesses such as being women and mainly money, which can bring on attacks of blindness and inattention. The pipeline should be filled with soft materials such as sand before the spoil is replaced by bulldozers. Unfortunately, the backfill is not always as selected as specifications, and other items get accidentally included in the backfill. After backfilling, the coating can be subject to a survey known as a Pearson survey, and this is one of my functions on this contract. Pearson survey. I was supposed to supervise a team, but in fact only one man was sent with the equipment which he delivered to me personally. He did not know how to use the equipment, which was only the delivery boy. But I asked him if he would like to do a section of the survey with me, and then up head office, and they gave him permission. I think they charged the client for an extra technician for a few days. I knew how the equipment, as I had seen such surveys during being carried out on other pipelines. The main box contains a radio transmitter which uses the pipe as an aerial, and the earth has the medium. The box is set up at a convenient pipeline contact point, such as a cathodic protection test post, and the two-man crew put on special boots which are wired up to give good contact with the ground whilst walking. They walk in line over the pipeline, both being connected to the receiver module, which is carried by the first man wearing earphones. He hears a constant tone of the signal, which rises to a deafening scream as he is over the coating fault, and disappears altogether when the fault is midway between him and his mate. It raises once more to a deafening scream when the second man is over the fault. There are, however, many problems which require considerable experience to overcome. Most operators do not bother to overcome them, but dismiss the whole survey as bullshit and make up the results. The first problem is the strength at which to set the signal in the first place. Bear in mind that you do not know the condition of the coating when you are setting up the transmitter. If there is a holiday at these points, then the tone will be set to an acceptable level, but no signal will be received over another holiday further down the pipeline. The operator will then conclude that the equipment is faulty and pack up for the day. If he is keen, he might thump the receiver and play around with the connecting leads before giving up and going home. I wasn't trained properly, so I did neither, but experiment by walking around the place, all over the place, adjusting the dials and generally playing around with the equipment until I discovered that it could be set up properly by walking a couple of 100 metres up and down the pipeline route while adjusting the transmission output and the receiver audio level and voltmeter sensitivity. Once set up like this, it is possible to survey about a mile of pipeline without further adjustment. The messenger boy technician had enough when I had walked him several miles along the pipeline in a couple of days and disappeared back in the direction of head office, where he could continue to drink tea and brag about his pipeline experience whilst fiddling his expenses. The contractor, Dennis Simmons, was keen to get the Pearson survey completed, as we had located several substantial coating faults which the contractor had to repair before getting the next stage of his progress payments. They therefore lent me a body to wire up and walk behind me on a daily basis. We got our act together and were completing up to 5 miles a day, which included locating and marking up to 20 coating faults. The repair crew were glad of the work, which was the last they would have to do before being laid off. This was an ideal time for me to gain expertise in the equipment to develop a few techniques of my own to enhance the survey. We also found that the wiring on the boots gave a lot of problems due to the amount of flexing that it was subject to. As it wore, the interference noise in the earphones became so loud that it overpowered the signal. The technical crew termed this condition as fucked up, and the crew normally abandons work until new boots are supplied several days later. I found that the problem was easier to overcome by not using the boots at all. I had welders make up 2 pairs of steel ski sticks with bolts that we could attach to the receiver cables, providing that one stick was in contact with the ground while the other was stepped forward. The signal was clearer and the equipment lasted the whole of the contract. I was headhunted. One day a stranger came up to me and asked if I was Roger Alexander, and if so, could I ring a number in London? So I did. The voice on the other end said he was looking for a good corrosion man and had been given my name by someone who wished to remain anonymous. I had arrived. I was being headhunted. My name was known by anonymous informers.